Welcome back to Unlock, Empower, Transform. I'm Shay Blackmon, founder of Shay Blackmon Consulting, author of High Value Leadership, Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture, and a DBA candidate in organizational leadership. And today we are talking about something that is genuinely personal to me: innovation. But not the kind that gets the magazine covers and the TED Talk invitations. Not the kind that comes with hoodies and pitch decks and a ping pong table in the lobby. I am talking about the kind of innovation that happens in steel-toed boots. The kind that smells like machine oil and sounds like a stamping press running at capacity. I am talking about manufacturing. Here is a number that should wake people up. There was a company in the automotive sector who implemented a structured innovation program on their production floor. Not a tech company, a plant. Within 18 months, they reduced waste by 23% and cut their defect rate nearly in half. No Silicon Valley consultants, no billion-dollar R&D budget, just frontline workers who were finally given the structure and the permission to solve problems they had been watching for years. So if you have ever been told that innovation belongs to tech, that manufacturing is just about efficiency and repeatability, today's episode is going to challenge everything you thought you knew. We are covering how to foster an innovation mindset on the production floor. What happens when continuous improvement meets AI-powered insights and real transformation lessons from the automotive sector. Let's get into it. Let me start with a truth that too many leaders overlook. The people closest to the problem are closest to the solution. That is not a motivational poster. That is an operational reality. And in manufacturing, the people closest to the problem are on the production floor. They are the ones who see the bottleneck every single day. They know which machine drifts after the third shift. They know which process step creates the most rework. And most of the time, nobody asks them. In High Value Leadership, I write about purpose-driven vision as the first pillar of the High Value Leadership trademark framework. And purpose on a production floor is not some abstract mission statement laminated on the break room wall. It is the operator understanding that their observation about a recurring quality issue is not just a complaint. It is data. It is innovation waiting to be captured. But here is where most organizations fail. They want innovation without creating the conditions for it. You cannot tell someone to think creatively and then punish them when their idea does not work on the first try. That is like telling someone to learn to swim and then draining the pool. In my book, I discuss what I call a safe failing environment, which is the idea that leaders must build spaces where experimentation is not just tolerated, but expected, where failure is treated as feedback, not as a performance issue. I have spent the better part of my career in manufacturing and automotive environments, and I can tell you that the plants with the strongest innovation cultures share three things. First, leadership that actively solicits ideas from every level, not just engineering and not just management. Second, a visible feedback loop so that when someone submits an idea, they actually hear what happened with it. Nothing kills innovation faster than the suggestion box that goes nowhere. Third, recognition that is immediate and specific. Not a generic Employee of the Month plaque, something that says, "Your idea about the line changeover process saved us 4 hours a week, and here is how we are scaling it." That third point connects directly to stewardship of culture, the second pillar of high-value leadership. Stewarding a culture of innovation means you are not just allowing it. You are architecting the systems that sustain it. You are making innovation part of the rhythm of the operation, not an afterthought when things go wrong. Now let's talk about the intersection that is reshaping manufacturing right now: continuous improvement and artificial intelligence. And before anyone tunes out thinking this is a technology episode, stay with me. This is a culture episode, because AI without the right culture is just an expensive dashboard nobody looks at. Continuous improvement has been the backbone of manufacturing excellence for decades. Kaizen, Lean, Six Sigma. These methodologies work. They have always worked. but they have also always been limited by human bandwidth. You can only analyze so many data points manually. You can only run so many root cause analyses in a week. You can only see patterns that your experience prepares you to see. AI changes the bandwidth equation. It does not replace the human expertise, it amplifies it. There was a company in the automotive sector who started feeding their quality inspection data into a machine learning model. Within 3 months, the system identified a pattern that no one had caught. A specific combination of ambient temperature, material lot, and machine speed that correlated with a defect spike. The quality team had been chasing that defect for over a year. The AI found the pattern in weeks. But here's the part that matters. The AI did not fix the problem. The production team did. Because they understood the process. They understood the context. The AI just showed them where to look. This is what I mean when I talk about balanced responsibility in high-value leadership. High standards and psychological safety are not competing priorities. They are complementary. When you pair AI-powered insights with a culture where frontline workers feel ownership over quality and improvement, you get something neither technology nor culture can deliver alone. You get transformation that actually sticks. And here's where I get a little sarcastic, because I have watched this movie before. Some organizations invest millions in AI and predictive analytics and then wonder why nothing changes. You want to know why? Because they rolled out the technology without ever addressing the culture. They automated the data collection, but left the same command and control leadership in place. They gave people dashboards, but not the authority to act on what the dashboards revealed. Technology is an accelerant, but if you accelerate a dysfunctional culture, you just get dysfunction faster. You have to get the people part right first. The automotive industry holds a special place in this conversation because it has been forced to reinvent itself more aggressively than almost any other manufacturing sector. Electrification, supply chain disruptions, changing consumer expectations, regulatory shifts. If you are in automotive, standing still is not an option. And the companies that have navigated these transitions most successfully are the ones that treated culture as a strategic asset, not an HR nice-to-have. There was a company who was a traditional Tier 1 supplier making the transition to electric vehicle components. Their biggest challenge was not the engineering. They had talented engineers. The challenge was the workforce mindset. Employees who had spent 15 or 20 years perfecting internal combustion engine parts were being asked to learn entirely new processes, new materials, new quality standards. The technical retraining was the easy part. The harder part was addressing the fear, the uncertainty, the feeling of going from expert to beginner overnight. This is where emotional intelligence, the third pillar of high-value leadership, is not optional. It is mission critical. Leaders in that environment had to do more than communicate the strategy. They had to acknowledge the emotional reality of the transition. They had to say, I know this is hard. I know it feels like the ground is shifting under you, and I am going to walk through this with you. That is authentic connection, the fifth pillar. And it is what separates a workforce that resists change from a workforce that owns the change. Another pattern I have observed across the automotive sector is the role of cross-functional collaboration in driving innovation. The companies that silo their engineering, quality, and production teams end up solving the same problems 3 different ways. The companies that create shared problem-solving structures, where the operator, the engineer, and the quality tech sit in the same room and map the issue together, those are the companies that innovate. Not because they have smarter people, but because they have smarter structures. And that goes back to something I emphasize throughout high-value leadership. Culture is not what you say you value. Culture is what your systems reinforce. If your org chart says collaboration, but your meeting structure keeps teams separated, your org chart is fiction. All right, it is exercise time. This one is called the Innovation Readiness Pulse Check, and you can do it in 5 minutes. Whether you are on a production floor, in a corporate office, or leading a team remotely, this applies. I want you to answer 4 questions. Write them down or open your Notes app. Question 1. When was the last time a frontline team member's idea was implemented and they were told about the result? If you cannot name a specific example in the last 90 days, your feedback loop is broken. Question 2. Does your team have a structured, recurring time to discuss process improvement? Not firefighting. Not production meetings where improvement gets crammed into the last 5 minutes. A dedicated space for thinking about how to do things better. Question 3. What happens when an improvement idea fails on your team? Is it treated as learning or as a mistake? Be honest, not what the policy says, what actually happens. Question 4. Can you name 3 people on your team who have untapped ideas that you have never asked about? I guarantee they exist. The question is whether your culture invites them forward or silences them. This exercise maps directly to the learning orientation component of the SHIELD Resilience Strategy Guide. As the guide outlines in the after-action review process, you walk through 5 questions after any significant challenge. What happened? What went well? What could be improved? What will I do differently? And what did I learn? Apply that same discipline to your innovation culture. Run a monthly after-action review, not just on what went wrong, but on what ideas were generated, captured, tested, and implemented. Make learning the system, not the exception. Pick one of those 4 questions where your answer concerns you. That is your starting point. One conversation, one structural change, one invitation for input that you have not extended before. That is how culture shifts, not in grand gestures, in daily decisions. Let me tie this together. The companies that will lead manufacturing over the next decade are not the ones with the biggest automation budgets. They are the ones with the strongest innovation cultures, the ones that treat continuous improvement as a leadership discipline, not a lean event. The ones that use AI to amplify human expertise instead of replacing human judgment. And the ones that understand that the production floor is not just where products are made, it is where culture lives or dies every single shift. If this conversation resonated with you, I want to point you to my book, High Value Leadership: Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture. Chapter 10 specifically covers fostering innovation and adaptability, including how to build an innovation culture, balance creative thinking with operational excellence, and adapt your leadership style to the changing demands of your market. Whether you are leading a plant, a team, or a division, these frameworks scale. The link to grab your copy is in the show notes. And I am beyond excited about the High Value Leadership Intensive course that is coming. This is not another leadership seminar where you take notes and then forget everything by the following Monday. This is a deep dive, hands-on experience designed to take the frameworks from the book and make them operational in your specific environment. If you are serious about transforming your culture, get on that wait list. The link is in the show notes, and you will be the first to know when enrollment opens. Now, here is your next step. Go download the SHIELD Resilience Strategy Guide. It is free. It is packed with practical tools, including the after-action review process we talked about today, the breathe technique for navigating high-pressure situations, and daily practices for building resilience that compounds over time. If you are a professional woman navigating complex environments and manufacturing definitely qualifies, this guide was built for you. The download link is in the show notes. Drop a comment and tell me, What is the most innovative idea that has ever come from your production floor or your frontline team? Or if you ran the Innovation Readiness Pulse Check, tell me which question gave you the biggest wake-up call. I read every comment and I genuinely want to hear from you. Subscribe if you have not already, and share this episode with a leader in manufacturing who needs to hear that innovation is not somebody else's job. It is theirs. It is yours. It is all of ours. Coming up on Thursday, we are exploring something that is reshaping how leaders build their careers: the side hustle generation, portfolio careers, and fractional leadership. If you have ever wondered whether there is more than one way to lead, you will want to catch that one. Until next time, keep unlocking your potential, empowering your teams, and transforming your culture. This is Shay Blackmon. Now go lead with purpose.